Hey, everybody. It's another podcast.
Hello, Mike.
So, everybody doing all
But
right?
it's also
Doing
visual.
great.
So
Nice
you
and
can-
warm.
It is visual.
It's
a
a
visual
vlog.
But this is
Vlog?
not your first time on our video.
It is
cast, yeah?
not, but I was just commenting that it's.
Right.
I didn't know if you call
Our
it something
videocast.
different.
So-
Videocast.
oh, yeah.
Is that what it's
Okay.
called? Videocast?
Vcast. Vcast.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Somebody tell us in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should it be podcast? Should it be video
Link
cast?
in the show notes.
I mean, we still do audio, so.
it's my favorite
I'm
thing
sure
to say.
someone has figured this out.
Okay, I've
somewhere.
got to jump in before we get serious. So Sunday, we're in our zone, in front of
Yeah.
our fire, watching our pastor. Awesome. Josh, tell me what this phrase meant. Moosh moosh.
A moosh boosh.
Moosh boosh?
A moosh
boosh.
is 2 words.
Okay, it starts with a B. The second one?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to correct
A
myself.
moose
Moosh boosh.
boosh.
You did indeed say it like it was a common phrase, and it went, well, even when I was sitting right there listening to you.
If
What
you
is
were from
that?
South Louisiana, or I guess if you're French.
I said picky
But if
use
you're from
coming
South
straight
Louisiana,
out, yeah. Mm-hmm.
that typically if you go to a restaurant, like a higher end restaurant, you're always going to be served in a moosh boosh. It's either going to come at the very beginning
Mm-hmm.
or it's going to come at the very end. And it literally means a little something extra. Like it's lagniappe. Like a
Lagniappe.
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 I know the word
Lagniappe.
lagniappe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
Moosh
it
boosh.
is. So like after your meal, and you're like, "Oh man, that was so good," and you're just like, "Hey, I got one more taste for you. Just taste this." And so it's a taste of
Yeah.
something sweet or something savory to remember the moment by. Or at the beginning, it's like a palate awakener to get you ready for the meal that's in front of you. But it's a little something extra, a little.
So it's
lagniappe.
not a moose's hairstyle.
It's a moose boosh.
See, I'm from Louisiana, and I had no idea.
Come on, man.
Lagniappe, I know, but I'm not from
Yeah.
South
Moose
Louisiana. I'm from north of New Orleans, so it's
And
not
to be fair,
considered.
the only reason I know
lagniappe.
that phrase is the restaurant I worked in while I was in seminary.
Gotcha.
We
It
served,
was fine dining.
It was
apparently.
finer dining, like
Yeah.
it was Robert St. John's restaurants in Hattiesburg. But yeah,
Okay.
so you would, if you're familiar with,
It wasn't Slotsky's.
it was not Schlotzsky's, but it was across the street.
Oh,
Slotsky's.
how about
There you go.
that?
So good. Yeah. But no, it was good. So you know, that's
my lunch
A little moose boosh.
Well, that was fun. We just had a moment saying it.
What did you say?
Moosh boosh.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know what lagniappe meant up until a few years ago, and
Yeah.
I had to.
I love
had
that
to
word.
ask
I
That's
grew up
just a
with that
great
word,
word.
but not this one.
Lagniappe.
Yeah. You see
That's
it around. You see it around these parts.
You never know how cultured we actually are in South Mississippi.
Exactly. Well, love the
very good.
sermon.
Now we know.
Love the sermon Sunday.
Yes.
And,
So it was a different kind of Sunday. I mean,
Yeah.
so of course we shut everything down because of the ice apocalypse that came
Yes.
through, and so did any of you lose power?
Nope.
No.
Did not.
The
Everybody did
lights
well?
flickered, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only a
Ours
flicker.
flickered
A little
once, too,
dicey
but-
there that
yeah.
one time.
Yeah. But anyway, so we all got to sit at home and kind of enjoy the worship service in a different way. And Josh, with you sitting, what I assume was right there in that
In this
seat.
very spot.
Yep.
Just turned a little bit more to the side.
Yeah, it was really great though. Like I really enjoyed the sort of up close and personal. And I've heard a lot of comments about that. That you know, you just you really excel in those kind of moments where it's just kind of somebody said it felt like a fireside chat.
Not afraid of the
Me,
camera.
I said that.
You
It's
said
that former acting career.
It
Someone
is, yeah,
said
back
it.
in my
back in the day.
my acting career in 11th grade. And I think my favorite comment that I've gotten from anybody was somebody texted me shortly after, that Sunday morning aired, because we thankfully, because of the forethought of our great media team, and looking at a forecast, we recorded on Thursday, which, I wasn't too keen on because I like to kind of marinate on the sermon. I usually write it the Sunday morning. And so I was like, oh no, this gives me like three days less to do this thing. But I think it came out okay. But my favorite comment was, hey, I really like that you didn't yell. And I was like, wait a minute.
Do I
Do I
normally
yell?
will?
Normally? They're like, no, it was just kind of more chill. And I was like, but you said I didn't
said
yell.
that's
and that's why
right.
you liked
That's
it.
right.
So
Reading between
do
the
I
lines here.
normally yell? And so anyway,
Did you say yeah?
What was the answer?
That he normally yells?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, you don't normally
I don't
yell.
think you normally.
I think I'm just animated and, it's a room. And
You're energetic.
This was a more chill. Yeah.
energized.
But
yeah.
you, I think you are exactly the same on the platform as you are off. Like, if anyone knows you, you're that passionate all the time.
That is
So,
true.
Yeah.
Whether it's about food, the gym,
Or moosh boosh.
kids sports, moose
All the
boosh,
things.
all
Yeah.
the things.
That was great.
All right.
well,
Perfect tone for the setting.
So there
you
you
go,
go.
yeah.
Lord willing, I'll be back to yelling on Sunday.
There you go.
Okay.
So
Yell
we'll be
away.
back.
all right.
Can't wait for that.
So, jumping into the message, so I really appreciated personally the illustration that you started out with, when you talked about the greatest commandment and you talked about the 2 nails. So would you kind of recap that and just tell us, like, go over that illustration again?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's I borrowed it from Scripture. It's certainly not mine. But Jesus is asked, what's the great commandment? Now remember, the lawyers who are asking him, they're not trying to learn. They're not there because he's the rabbi and they're sitting under his feet. They're trying to catch him in some kind of blasphemy.
Right.
If he's going to pick one law out of the 600 plus laws that Moses gives to be his favorite, then certainly there'll be some kind of blasphemous reason that he picks it. And so he comes with the Shema, right? So out of Deuteronomy 6, you to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. But then he says the second is as equal to it. So it's not like 1 and 2, it's 1 and 1, or 1A and 1B that are equaling 1. And he says the second one is love your neighbor as yourself. And he says all the laws of the prophet hang on these two. And in the illustration that essentially is given, and I'm not quite sure he would use it in the same way that we use it because of modern creature comforts. But when we're hanging something that we want to be displayed, or whether it's our TV or a piece of art or something that we just want to have hanging on the wall, you have to find something to anchor it to. So you have to find a stud, and the stud matters, so the anchor matters, and what you put in that stud matters as well. And so Jesus is saying that these two laws, loving God and loving people, are going to be the thing that we hang our observable life on. And if either one of those falter, either one, because they're not 1 and 2, it's 1 and 1. If either one of those falter, the whole thing comes down. And so you can build a religious life and not love God, but be really religious. It all comes crashing down. You can love God but never love people, and so your devout theology, your love for the Word, like all of those things can be true. But if you don't love people, the whole thing comes crashing down. He said both of those things have to be true at the same exact time: to love God and to love people. And so with that, kind of sets the stage for this Ecclesiastes, because it's in the missing of those marks, either of loving God and loving people, that we see all the hevel in the world, all the smoke, and which is what Chapter 4 is all about. All the injustice in the world, all the struggles that we see in life, whether it is because people didn't do what God said or people didn't love other people in the way that God told them to. And that makes it a really smoky existence.
That's great.
I will never hang a picture the same way again.
It matters. It matters where you hang it.
I don't know. Apparently, I really appreciate good visuals. So, it was like, oh, yeah. And I know Scripture says, everything hangs on this. I mean, it uses the word hang, but I never really thought.
You like a good word picture.
like hanging a picture. Yeah. So
that's probably why we like the Gospels.
It's kind of a good check for us, too. Like, our life might not be such that the whole thing's going to come crashing down, but it might be unlevel. Like
wonky,
we may look at our life and go, man, here recently I've been doing this really well. I've been kind of slacking over here. I need to get it back in balance.
The illustration goes, a lot of times illustrations break down. That illustration, it's pretty much the core of the message, because even if you're adjusting your life, you're like, oh man, that picture, my life looks a little wonky. It looks off balance. And we can attempt to pull the strings of, well, maybe I need to tithe a little bit more, or pray a little bit harder. How are we at loving God and loving people?
Right.
Because those are the things that are going to center us back up.
Right.
And it's going to not only hold it up, but it's going to set us up perfectly, at least as it should be or can be understood. And so, it all comes back to that.
Yeah, it's good.
That's great.
So we started off, we're in chapter 4 of Ecclesiastes, and Solomon, he in verse 2 and 3, like he he shares this really morbid thought. It's like, I thought the dead who are already dead more fortunate than the living who are still alive. But better than both is he who has not yet been born. and hasn't seen the evil deeds that have been done under the sun. So talk to us about that. Like, I wish I was dead, or the dead are better off than I am.
All right. So remember, anything about Ecclesiastes, and this is why you can't read all the Bible in the same way that you read every verse, right? You have to understand genre. So this is a wisdom literature, and this is not the same as a gospel. And a gospel is not the same as an epistle, like a letter. And so you can't read them or understand them the same way. And so in this wisdom literature, we have to understand that Solomon is hardly ever being prescriptive, meaning that you should. He is not saying, because the world is so bad, go ahead and kill yourself.
Right.
The world is so bad, it is okay for you to feel valid in your feelings. I wish I was never born, right?
Or don't have babies.
Or don't have babies because you don't want to bring
better off
them
not to bring
into
a baby
this
into the world.
That's exactly right. And so simply what he's saying is, do you want to know how bad the world is? This is how bad the world is. And from his vantage point, he would even say, like, I have an unobstructed view, like a privileged view. And I'm telling you, you want to know how bad it is? It's this bad. Which, again, wisdom literature should always set the stage for something better to come. Right?
Yeah.
The unique part of the wisdom literature is Ecclesiastes is the darkest of all the wisdom literatures, right? So in particularly in the Psalms or in the Proverbs, like man, there's some sad, but it's mostly happy, or at least there's some directive of, I know it's sad, but if you do these things, it's going to end happy.
Right.
Ecclesiastes isn't that. It's just honest.
Yeah.
It's Solomon looking back over the course of his life saying, this life is not all that we think it actually is, which is setting
I'm
the
so
stage
glad
for something.
that it's in here, though, because, you know, some people read stories in the Bible and they go, oh, I can relate to that story. Some people read this passage and go, I can relate to that. Like I have had thoughts of, maybe I'm not going to take my life, but boy, God, if you just would never have let me be born, that would have been great.
That's right.
And I think the honesty of it reminds people that the Bible is written for people, by people who experience real things. It's not like a fairy tale. It's not just an author sitting down and coming up with stories. And so it really does kind of bring the light of how bad life can be.
That's right.
I mean, a lot of people have felt exactly what's in that verse.
So we're about a month into this series, and I think what I hear most is people, number one, hardly ever have ever read Ecclesiastes. Now, to be fair, it's wordy, and in our English translations, it's kind of weirdly wordy.
Yeah.
And so whenever you get some understanding and some context behind it, it gives you a freedom, to your point, Preston, to not be okay. Because I think if we're honest about our life and how we presume ourselves that we have to be, we should always be happy. As Christians, like, what do we have to be sad about? We should be happy. If you have bad thoughts, don't say those bad thoughts because Jesus died for you. Why wouldn't you? Hopefully we don't teach that. Hopefully you have not heard your church leadership here at Broadmoor teach those things. But I think just the culture in which we live, or maybe even just the spirit inside of us that's at, kind of tension, we want to hide the crazy. What Ecclesiastes says, hey, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Like we are all more broken than we think, and the world is even more broken than you can imagine. And so, get to the end, you're like, well, gosh, what do I do? How do I get there?
Yeah.
So at the end, he's going to give some wisdom, but it doesn't even make it better.
Yeah.
Like essentially what he says, with all of the brokenness, do your best to love God and to love people and trust God along the way. And you're not going to, this side of eternity, you're not going to see it. But there is a day coming. And that's all that we have. And that's honest.
Yeah.
Because at the end of this day, you can church it up all you want. You can even Christian it up all you want. This is all we have in this life. Life's hard. We're broken. The best we can do is to love God and love people and trust God for the results. That's going to be the whole of Ecclesiastes, every chapter. But each one is going to double down on why we are the way we are.
Right.
Just kind of give us a better understanding of honesty.
I love that. And I've read Ecclesiastes, I guess, several times in my life. But Josh, I appreciate you bringing out parts of it that just connect. Because it is connecting. The chapters are connected. I didn't think they connected. I thought, oh, there's that.
Right.
Oh, there's that one. There's that one. But you're putting this thread through it. Thank you for pulling that thread.
Good. Yeah. No, I'm happy to have studied it because honestly, I've never taught this for sure, and so it has been a joy to kind of plow some new ground. I've read John 100 times and maybe even preached through it. This will be when we had just done that year, it'd been my third time to ever preach through the gospel, which is, you see something new every time.
Right.
But this is like, oh my goodness, this is great. I didn't know this was in here. I've been loving
This is
the Lord
great.
for a
Kind of
while.
depressing, but great.
Yeah, for sure.
Weirdly, it's great in the depression. Yeah.
In verse 4, where it talks about, then I saw all toil and skill and work come from a man's envy of his neighbor. I don't know if anybody else thought, but immediately I thought, looking at this literally, y'all know the Yard of the Month Club? Like some neighborhoods
Our
will
neighborhood
have.
has it.
I've
My
never,
yard has never had it.
Yeah, my yard will never have it. That's just not a priority for us. Nothing wrong with it if people do that.
Right.
But we have a friend, Jeff Green, and his goal in life is to win Yard of the Month.
Jeff, she just
so
called you
cute.
out.
Right. Good luck, Jeff.
He's
We're
so
for
cute.
you.
Good luck, Jeff. Yeah, that's exactly right. He's never won.
Come on, Debbie, you can
I
pull him out.
know it. I
Debbie
know
Green.
it. So I thought about that. But the truth of it is, we're always looking someone else.
Yeah.
maybe not their physical things they have, although sometimes we do look at those resources they have and think, well, not me, but everything about their life.
Yeah.
And so this says that we toil and work hard only because our impetus for doing that, our motivation for doing that is envy of our neighbor. Wow.
Yeah.
It's huge, and I could argue, we could all argue that verse 4 of chapter 4 gives the reason why we as humanity cause so much destruction. Like you can legitimately cut on the news. You can look at what's going on right now in Minneapolis. You can look at what's going on in New Orleans. You can look at what's going on in Jackson. You can look at what's going on in your neighborhood that nobody else knows about, right? And it all stems from, I'm not satisfied with me, and I want what they have. So we know that comparison is the thief of joy, but comparison could be just interchange with envy. So envy is the thief of joy, but it's also the fuel for all the anger that we see in this world. If we were content with what we had, and we believed that the people across from us didn't have something that we desired, then this world would be a much better place, right? And that's why, now again, this gets us into a whole nother sermon and sermon series, but why when Jesus is giving us the Lord's Prayer, we are led to pray, Lord, give us this day our daily bread. Not our neighbor's daily bread, but to give us what is ours and for us to forgive potentially what others have done to us. And so if we're content with us and we're not angry at them, then that allows us to refocus on the new way of life. That is the kingdom way. This gives, again, not prescriptive, just descriptive. This is the reason the world is broken. It's because we are not satisfied in what we have, and we're angry that other people we believe have more or better than we do.
And isn't it crazy that comparison always is looking at someone that we think has more? Like we don't, by and large, humanity does not look around and go, oh, I'm so blessed because I have this, when I look at this person who doesn't have this. We look toward others who have things we don't have, and we're like, oh, I want what they have. And I think it shows the darkness of our heart when it comes to things like that. And we can't be content because we don't know how to just say, thank you, Lord, for what I have. We have to look toward what somebody else has. But it's always a one-way comparison, or most often is a one-way comparison.
And Preston, I think too, it robs us of some joy and contentment that we have and we could have in our life by looking at how God has blessed us. But also it robs the joy that we would have from coming alongside someone else and celebrating what God has been doing in their life. We tend to get quiet or withdraw. Maybe I just do. Withdraw. Oh, I'm not gonna.
That's the first section of this, because he's going to give two examples essentially of because of the envy that we have for the people around us. We'll treat people one of two ways. They'll either be a stepping stone for us, so we'll invite them in, sure. Hey, I like you, I want you to come in, but it's only because I see something in you that I want. Or at least I see something in you that I can use to get to where I want to go. But then secondly, if we can't do that, if we can't control them, then we're going to destroy them. Because now we're going to see them as the opposition, like you are gatekeeping something that is mine. And both of those, remember, rooted in Genesis 3, right? So this is the fall. The enemy puts into the mind of Adam and Eve, God's keeping something from you. And so when they can't control him, they try to, I don't need you, I'm going to do it my way. Well, that's where this whole problem began. That's still the core issue that we face today, is we may invite community in, but it's generally only to get ours. And then once we receive what we want, kick it to the curb. And if we can't control it, I'm going to tear you down because I'm going to get it. That's the struggle. That's the envy. That's what it does in our life. And it's a supernatural thing. And I know we all feel this, and people watching right now feel it. Because, Preston, to your point, I know I should be thankful. I can sing the old hymn, count your many blessings,
Right.
name them one by one.
I was just singing in my head.
Count your many blessings, see what God has done.
Name them one by
I love
one.
We had to
There you
finish it
go.
because it would just be there. But the point being with that, like, I know we know that, but there's still something at war in us.
Yeah.
Again, going back to Romans 7. This is that tension that Paul says, like, this is something otherworldly.
Yeah.
Like, my soul is tied to something. Even though I know it belongs to the Lord, on this side of eternity, I am still anchored to something, and it's dark, and it's twisted, and it's pulling at me every single day, which is why he says, who can save this wicked wretch that I am? Praise be to God through Jesus Christ who can. So that is our only hope in this life, and the life to come is Jesus. Because, man, that tie is strong and the pull is hard.
Yeah.
So there was we talk about a lot. I mean, it's one of our values, here at Broadmoor. We talk a lot about community and the importance of community. We talk a lot about groups and, doing life with one another. And that was a prevalent theme in this chapter, even so much so that it made a statement about if two lie together, they keep one another warm.
That's right.
And which is kind of an odd statement for us to hear, right? So,
That's right.
Say more about that.
Yeah,
tell us more.
So if you go back and you listen to the sermon, I tried to double down on it because that does seem strange.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of things in the litany of illustrations that Solomon's given, right? So he's saying, when you fall, if you fall alone, who's going to be there to pick you up? Like you need somebody to help you up. And then the one that comes after it is, if you're attacked, you're by yourself, you're going to get smoked. Like you're going to get got. But if you have somebody, or at least two somebodies, you can potentially fend off any attacker that's coming your way. And so we kind of resonate with both of those. It is the weird middle one that would say, if two lay together, they'll be warm. Like, dude, you're not laying with me. Like, no, that's terrible. But the point being, like, they traveled a lot and they didn't have the creature comforts we did. They didn't have cars. They didn't have hotels. And so normally, when it's good, life's good, they're not snuggling. But let something go awry, let an extenuating circumstance happen that is now life-threatening. You're happy, as weird as it may be. You're going to be happy to get close to somebody, to be warm, to survive. Now, again, I don't think we're in danger hardly ever of hypothermia, unless it's yesterday and today.
That's right.
Could certainly be, could be a thing. But the point being that it is our isolation that he's pointing to that freezes us all the time. That we think we're fine until the moment we're not. And then if we look around and we've isolated so much and nobody's there and we've pushed everybody away and we've even doubled down and looked at the people who want to be with us and say, I don't want you with me, then they're not coming. And now the isolation that you feel is it is potentially going to sink you. He said, what good is a life that you've worked hard for, that you've made money in, that you have built a portfolio about, and now you're going to die on the side of the road in isolation?
By yourself.
What a hevel experience. What a meaningless journey in this life that Jesus would say it this way, what gain is it that you have the whole world, but now you've forfeited your soul?
Yeah.
Like what good is it that you've gained for yourself? And so, again, not prescriptive, just descriptive, saying, I've seen it all. I've watched men and women gain the world, but they've died alone just like a dog would, which brings us back to the chapter 3 and brings it together.
Yeah.
So we've got Preston in the room, which is actually great for this conversation.
Thank you, Mike.
In case y'all didn't know.
I mean, I think your expertise can lend some things to this conversation that maybe the rest of us can't. I mean, thinking about the idea of community, and again, we talk about it a lot, we stress it a lot, but we also recognize that for some, community comes easier than others. Like for some, it's just they're natural extroverts.
That's right.
And
looking for people, energized by people.
Center of attention, life of the party, creating connections and building relationships with people just comes really easy. Others tend to be more introverted, and that just terrifies them, and that's, isolation is a much preferred state, Sure.
That's right.
Until you get cold.
Until you get cold, that's right.
Snuggle up.
That's right.
I actually thought of a movie that I watched at one point. I think it was a documentary or something on people climbing Mount Everest, and they got stranded like in a unexpected storm, and
did they
had
snuggle?
to huddle together to stay alive.
Solomon saw it all.
So
Yes, right.
You watched them snuggle.
But anyway, for those who might be more naturally introverted and really struggle with the idea of community, like how do they find a balance between just the need to recharge and be alone and be in isolation, but also to step in and connect? And
And is it wrong to be introverted?
No, that's a good question, and I think the answer is no. It's not wrong. Some people are more naturally wired to enjoy time alone, to be re-energized. So when we talk about being introverted, typically your battery kind of gets charged by having that time alone, whereas extroverts get charged up by being with other people. So nothing inherently wrong for sure with being introverted, but I think there's a rhythm in that of needing your time alone to recharge, but also understanding that God has wired us to need to be in community for other reasons, one of which is just a spiritual. You mentioned earlier that sometimes when we get alone spiritually, then we kind of create our own narratives. We
Yeah.
almost create God in a sense, the way that we want him to be.
It's a dangerous place.
And being around other people lets us there's some checks and balances. We read scripture, we talk about it. If we're the one person in a room of 10 that says, well, this scripture seems to say this, and the other 9 are looking at us going, I don't see that at all.
Right.
It's probably something worth listening to, right? So there's some checks and balances in it. But I think, too, just going back to even like early childhood without nerding out too much, we are wired for connection from the very beginning. And when we see kids that don't have connection, maybe they grow up in an orphanage or something like that, where their needs are being met in terms of like food and diapers changed, things like that, but there's no actual physical contact or verbal, back and forth, we see this failure to thrive. And I think it's just an early demonstration that God, from the very beginning, wants us to be in relationship with other people. But we're all going to be different. So you look back at COVID. I mean, some people, when COVID hit, were like, this is awful, not just because I can't get toilet paper, but because I can't be with all of my people.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you had some people that were like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I now have a legitimate excuse to stay at home, not talk to anybody, just get my work done, And again, wiring, 2 different wirings. But the longer it went, even people who were more introverted, we began to see kind of some of the cracks of, wow, even though I like this in some ways, I'm starting to feel the stress of not having community. But God wants us to have community.
Yeah.
It's all throughout Scripture. It is part of being in the church and why it's healthy for us to be in a church body and not kind of a lone ranger. Well, I'll just take my Bible, go do my quiet time, say my prayers. We need others.
And I want to double down on that because I think what you just referenced is something we talked pre-podcast. I don't want to miss out on the tension that we feel, because there's going to come a time in chapter 5, 6, and 7 where Solomon's going to make a comment, and remember, it is describing something, it's not prescribing something, and essentially he's going to say to the irreligious, you need to get a little bit more religion. And then he's going to say, to the overly religious, you need to simmer down a little bit. Like you need to back off, because both of those are going to lead you to a place that you don't want to go.
Yeah.
And so I think for us as 21st century Protestants, we have believed an untruth, to say it nicely, or to say it honestly. I believe that we've bit the lie that we can do Christianity all by ourselves. Proven by, we think that if we're being a good Christian, that means that we woke up this morning alone, and then we opened our Bible alone, and we opened our devotional alone, and we drank the cup of coffee, and we wrote in our journal, and we took the picture and posted it on Instagram alone. And
it doesn't count unless you do that.
That's right. That makes us a good Christian. Well, the first century church honestly knows nothing of that. So if we look back at when the church is created and explodes in growth, now remember, the Bible doesn't, as it's bound and understood today, doesn't come on the scene until about 350 AD, right? So for 300 plus years, you have groups of people that their source of nourishment is the community that God has trusted to them. And so in Acts 2, it says they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching.
I was about to say that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Say it.
And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, hanging out
prayers.
together, eating,
Yeah.
and to prayer. Acts 2:42. Yeah.
That's right. And that is what was the lifeline for the early Christian.
Yeah.
Now, overlay that to what we think is our lifeline. If we can individualize that to, I don't need that. I just need my Bible. I just need my devotional. I just need my worship music that I like.
Yeah.
Then everything becomes so personalized to what I like, and nothing that I don't like is ever in my view, that God starts to sound an awful lot like me. And he starts to like only the things that I like, and he never hates the things that I am doing that maybe I shouldn't do. And so here's the danger of an individualized religion or individualized Christianity. It can lead you to heresy fast. And we can play a game that we label things with Christian language. So we can call it Jesus, and we can call him God, and we can call it the Holy Spirit. We can call it the Bible. But in reality, we've just set up a religion that is equally blasphemous as any other religion that is not centered on the work of Jesus, because that religion is centered on us.
Yep.
And we just use Jesus and label.
In your own perspective, in your own wisdom, you don't know that what you're thinking is wrong, or
That's
what you're
exactly right.
what
You
you're
need people.
believing is wrong. You need people for the encouragement, for the
Yeah.
support,
Yeah.
for the warmth.
Yeah.
For the
But
accountability.
also for the accountability.
That's right.
And that part of a relationship is the part that when I look back on my life and I see how people have come along beside me, for encouragement, for support, being those balcony people. Go, Beth, go. But I also have had wise people who have whispered quietly to me in a private conversation, which is how I like to be confronted, by the way. And I don't mind that, but who've come along beside me and loved me well enough to say, did you know? You said this.
Well, yes.
You did this.
And the accountability is important, and having the person when the wheels fall off, because you know, when life falls apart,
the wheels are going to fall off.
They are.
You being in your word every day is great. You may know some truths that will help you navigate it, but when the wheels fall off, you often need a person, Jesus with skin on, sometimes we say, to be there to walk out whatever that thing is that's going on in your life. And one of the saddest things in the world is the person who on that day is like, wait, I've been doing all the stuff, but now that I'm in need, I've got nobody to turn to because that's not how God meant for it to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and I think you guys have sort of naturally answered one of the questions I was going to have, which, you know, I think, Beth, you raised it earlier before we started recording this, was, you know, how do we know when our isolation has become detrimental to our spiritual or mental health even, you know, and I think that's some of what we've just been talking about. I mean, you know, there are signs along the way, and so I think that's something that we need to be sensitive to.
And for us at Broadmoor, you know, we're set up in a system and a framework with life groups. And many of those life groups have smaller groups that meet together. And so if you're listening today and you don't have a life group or a small group, I encourage you to go to the website and look at some possibilities. But I always encourage people too, don't go one time and say, this isn't the group for me. Because the teacher could have an off day.
Sure.
3 times is usually my rule before you give up on a life group, because you could have an off day.
You could have an off day.
So, you know, do the work that it takes to find that group of community. And if you go to another church, find out what their structure is to find that community in that small group.
We hardly ever drift into a place of health or a place of vulnerability or transparency. And so I've learned a lot since coming here from many different people. But, you know, we joke about Neil Marsh, you know, our dearly departed brother who is now doing other work, but certainly still at Broadmoor and leading a great life group. And if you're looking for a life group, his life group is
so
great.
Sweet.
It's intense, but it's great. It's so good.
Sweet.
But he always asked a question whenever he would sit with me as his lead pastor, and he was one of the executive pastors, and Mike would sit in the room as well. And Neil would ask us, hey, do you see anything in me that's off? Like he would, and I remember the first time he asked me, I felt exposed in him asking the question to me about himself, because the next logical thing was, I'm going to have to volley that back.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like that question, and I didn't grow up with that question. Matter of fact, I grew up believing the opposite.
Yeah.
I don't even want you to think about what I'm doing. That's awful.
That's right.
And the fact that he would submit himself, and it wasn't just in our meeting. If you remember, like,
he asked me that one time, and I think I stuttered and walked out.
Yeah.
Like, you seem really nice, bye. I mean, what'd you say?
But it's so strange, and I've attempted to do that now in all the meetings that I lead and the teams that I'm in, no matter what the organizational chart is saying about it. Like, I just want people to look at my life and have a freedom, because I want to know, like, we all have blind spots. Like, we have to know that.
Sure.
Like, we are all broken, and not just like theologically in mind. Like we're just legitimately, we don't do what we're supposed to do the right way, but we think we are. And so we need to let people in, and the way to do that naturally is just to look at them and say, hey, BB, when you see me, like, do you see anything that I shouldn't be doing, or do you see anything that I should be doing more of? Like,
You've asked me that before.
Yeah.
You seem really nice, Bob. Mike, have you ever asked that question? I'm just curious. I never have asked that question of someone else.
Not before Neil Marsh.
No.
The Neil Marsh question. We called that.
And I have, and I think again, it's come from the again, being exposed in those meetings, those very same meetings, you know, to Neil and his vulnerability in that way. And I think, you know, it does sort of require a volley.
Yeah, like,
I guess now I got to ask.
Somebody gives you a gift, I got to give one back.
Now, I've got some
It's a
besties.
culture shift, though.
Some besties I do that with, but nobody here. Like,
but doing it with your friend, that is still a culture
Trust.
shift, though, because it requires trust. And sometimes
big trust.
somebody has to lead out in that and kind of take it a step further in conversation.
But when you do it, there's
superficial.
safety in it. I know we're about to wrap up, but there's so much safety in community once you trust it. Like, if you truly know and be known, if that's the intent that you're going to do, like, I remember some of the first times asking that question, thinking, please say nothing, please say nothing, please say nothing. And now if I hear, no, I don't think so enough, I'm like, I don't think you guys are pressing it enough. Or I don't think I'm being honest enough because there's no way. There's no way the answer to that question is, I don't think so. Or no, not that I see, because that tells me something about me that I'm being a little more guarded than I should be. And I'm not letting you in fully to my crazy just yet. So that is helpful. And I know that when I mess up, and we will, guys, we will falter. We're going to have people not to condemn us, but to pick us up. And that's the beauty of biblical community.
For sure. My friend Carol and I, as we have parented over the past years, we had that open statement with each other. You see something in my life that is not biblical in regards to parenting and marriage too, but parenting is the one I want to talk about with our moms right now. That she has called me out. I have called her out. We are sharper and together and warmer because of community with each other. And I think every mom or dad needs those people around them too, both for marriage and for parenting. But that takes a vulnerability.
Yeah, indeed it does.
And trust.
So we're out of time and we need to wrap up, but I do appreciate this conversation, and I just want to remind those who watch or listen to this podcast. Just again, we say it all the time, but groups are really important here. Probably they're important anywhere, but it's something that we really try to stress here. And so we have groups that meet, of course, life groups that meet on Sunday mornings. We have small groups. We have Wednesday night groups that meet. Get involved in a group somewhere where we can begin to practice. And we have different kinds of groups. Some are more teacher-based. Some are more just discussion. You mentioned Neil's, it's and how intense it is, and it's
Sam and Stephen.
Yeah, because really the primary focus of that group is
vulnerability.
Let's be transparent. So
And go to the website to find out more about those. Or
you can go to the website to find more about
office.
groups. You can call the church office or just show up on Sunday morning, go to our Connect Center, and someone there can help point you to a group. So anyway, great conversation today. Continue to look forward to the rest of Ecclesiastes. And
Absolutely.
Thanks for the conversation. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Love y'all. Boosh, boosh.
Boosh, boosh.